All right, so let's talk about the impeachment vote with Democratic strategist Joe Sapecki, founder of Sapecki Communications, and Republican State Representative Adam Nealon, a Pewaukee businessman. Joe, let me begin with you. Just what's happening there with Speaker Pelosi seems to be slow walking the articles of impeachment over to the Senate over concerns of a fair trial. Doesn't that make an already hyper-partisan issue even more of an unfair power play?
Of course not. Leader McConnell had said he wasn't going to take this up until January anyways. Let's be really clear here. There's only one party that is making this partisan and making it political, and it's Republicans. Republicans used to believe in a separation of powers and checks and balances. Right here in Wisconsin, 1 year ago, Republicans in the legislature took powers away from the duly elected executive because he was a Democrat. Now, when it's a Republican executive, they go, we don't care, he can stonewall Congress. I mean, this is almost laughable.
Representative Nealon, looks like he's throwing it back to you in terms of what Republicans did here in the state. But let me ask you about that. And also, will the jury in the Senate, mostly Republicans, be impartial here? They don't seem to want to be that way.
Well, this is a political process, and I think they will be partial up to the point that they realize that this is a political process. The Democrats have been political in this process, and I think that to make sure that this is a fair hearing, they need to be somewhat political to make sure that they stand their ground and make sure that one party isn't unfair in their partisan attack of a sitting president that was duly elected by the people. So I think it's entirely within their right to do that. But I also want to say that the Republicans in the state legislature did not take power away from the governor. They simply made sure the legislature had the same equal amount of power, because we do have checks and balances in the Constitution.
And I'm sure we can debate that point for another few minutes here, but I want both of you to look at this tweet sent out by Reince Priebus yesterday. He's former state party chair and, of course, former chief of staff for President Trump. Said, from here on out, most presidents will now get impeached when the opposite party holds the House. This is a new political game that will play out for decades to come. Joe, agree or disagree?
Disagree. Nancy Pelosi in a Democratic Congress did not impeach George W. Bush. She did not impeach Donald Trump due to anything in the Mueller report. The president forced Democrats in Congress's hand with clearly inappropriate actions.
Representative Nealon, I think this is the third time we've seen impeachment in our history in the last 45 years, President Clinton and now President Trump. And we all know that President Nixon resigned before the impeachment vote. Agree or disagree with one of your former colleagues?
It's an absolute concern. There's no question. I mean, I think this is creating a deep wound that might take generations to heal. We've never seen such a partisan impeachment. Those other impeachments that you listed had bipartisan support. And the fact that this has been so partisan really makes me nervous for the future, because it is going to create a deep wound and it is going to create more partisanship moving forward.
All right, guys, we'll leave it there. I appreciate the robust discussion on this issue.